טוב, בוקר אור רבותיי.
One second, Rabbi.
Okay. Day 13.
Okay.
שבוע טוב רבותיי to all our Bekiim Bahalacha members. We are at Bekiim Bahalacha and we're in volume 4 and today we begin day 13, page 34. Again, we're reviewing. We learned in previous days about the Zohar Kadosh that said one should try to wear his tefillin at home with the Talet Gadol, leave the house, pass the mezuzah. By that, he ensures himself to have the protection of 4 angels. We also learned that if a person, let's say, goes to the synagogue early, so he can't put on his tefillin, so what should he do? So there was a custom of Rabbi Yehuda Sadka alav Shalom. He was Rosh Hashiva Purat Yosef. And as brought down in the Sefer that they wrote in his memory, he would learn on Thursday nights the whole night. And Mishmar, the tzaddikim, they stay up the whole Thursday night, and they would learn Torah. So he would go to Purat Yosef before the Zman of Tefillin. He was there ready from the nighttime. Right before the morning, Rabbi Yehuda Sadka would go back home to put on his taler and tefillin so he can come back dressed with the taler and tefillin. So it just shows you how strict he was, even though you might say he was there already in the yeshiva. So you're there already, you don't have to go back home. But he did. He would actually come to the yeshiva with his taler and tefillin on Thursday nights, just in case he doesn't go back home. So at least he has his taler and tefillin with him. But that was his practice, and we did mention it. Now, there's another practice from a great rabbi called the Rosh, the Benu Asher, and it's brought down in the Arba Turim. The Tur was the son of the Rosh, and many times he'll bring Adoni Avi Harosh. He'll quote what his father, the Rosh, says. The Rosh had an interesting custom. In the Birchot HaShachar, we say Oter Yisrael b'tif'ara. Oter Yisrael b'tif'ara simply means when the person puts on his hat in the morning, we say that God crowns the Jewish people with glory. Since the glory of God is above their head, the Shekhinah, so we put on the hat, we make Oter Yisrael b'tif'ara. However, the tefillin is also called tif'ara, like it says in the Navi, Pe'ercha chavush alecha. So therefore, the Rosh's custom was, before he would put on the tefillin, he would say the beracha of Oter Yisrael b'tif'ara. That was the beracha he made for the tefillin. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Shulchan Aruch actually brings down the minhag of the Rosh. And he says, in Halacha Gimal, in Siman Chafeh, HaRosh haya misadera berachot ad oter yiseh b'tif'ara. He would say berachot HaShachar until oter yiseh b'tif'ara. Ve'az haya maniach tefillin. And then he would put on the tefillin, u'mebarech oter yiseh b'tif'ara. So that's a fantastic practice that we have of the Rosh. Now, I want to remind you, we learned in Birchot HaShachar, the Rosh was of the opinion that you make Birchot HaShachar in Shul. So it comes out the Rosh did not follow the Zohar. Because if you're making the Baracha on Tefillin in Shul, that means you left the house. Now, I'm not sure. Could be it was like the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai said already you could wear Tefillin at home and then change it to Tefillin. But it doesn't sound like that. It seems that the Rosh held according to the Peshat, and he made the Baracha in the synagogue. But that is clearly not our minhag. We follow the opinion of Rabbeinu Ari and Rashash that clearly say when a person wakes up in the morning, he should make Birchot HaShachar at home before he leaves the house. And then after he makes Birkat Torah, he should put on his talit and tefillin. And we do not use the Beracha or Terisif Tifara when it comes to the tefillin. Our practice is not like the Rosh. Again, you could follow in the Mishnah Brura. The Mishnah Brura over here actually says, if you look at Halacha Gimal, he says the reason why the Rosh said to make the beracha of the tefillin of Oter Yiseh Tefara kedesh niten shevach vehoda'ah bebercha zu gam tefillin sheniknet pe'er. Because we said the tefillin is also called pe'er, like it says in Yechazkel, pe'er chavush alecha. V'ka'eh ala tefillin shem pe'er liYisrael. Fine. U'mebarech Oter u'bartzot hayim. Artzot hayim, I think, is the malbim. The Malbim wrote a Pirush also on Shulchan Aruch, and the Mishnah Berurah quotes Atzot Chaim many times. Katav lo ra'iti shuragim ken. Nobody has this practice. Did you see anybody ever make the beracha or taste of tefillah and tefillin? Never. ורק מניחים תפילין קודם ברכות השחר או אחר. כל אחד לפי מנהגו. Exactly. Each one follows the minhag. So let's say you have a minhag like we do, to make Birchot HaShachar first. Right? Then after that, you put on your tefillin. But let's say some have the custom to put on their tefillin and then to make Birchot HaShachar. That's not our minhag. So their custom was when they said Oteri Sefer Tefillah, they would hold on to the tefillin shel yad and they would kiss it. But again, that is clearly not our practice. He has a note over in 18. ובדברי בן איש חי, וכף עין מתבש מנגן וכדת האריזל. להניח תפילין נעל ברכות השחר. And finish, that is the minhag. Now we get to the next item. The Gemara says in Berachot, page 14, כל הקורא קריאת שמע, ולא תפילין, כאילו מעיד עדות שקר בעצמו. Page 35. Whoever makes Kiryat Shema, says Kiryat Shema, and he's not wearing his tefillin, the Gemara says as if he's giving false testimony. Now, who's he giving false testimony on? So the Gemara says, Ki'ilu me'id edut sheker be'atzmo, on himself. What does that mean, giving false testimony on himself? So that she says, be'atzmo is lashon nikiyah. Be'atzmo really means on God. But the Gemara doesn't want to say that you're giving false testimony on God, so it's not nice. Like we're learning in Sanhedrin, when it comes to blasphemy, we're very careful. So therefore, the Gemara says a euphemism. כאילו מעיד עדות שקר בעצמו. אבל מי זה העצמו הזה? כביכול, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Now the question is, why if a person is not wearing tefillin when he says Kiryat Shema, why is he giving false testimony on God? So that she explains is because the tefillin symbolizes our commitment to be God's servant. And if someone does not fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin, he demonstrates that God is not really his master. So therefore, that would be already a testimony against God. Now that's the opinion of Rashi. Not everybody agrees with that. There's a rabbi called the Bayit Hadash, and he interpreted Rashi's comments, Pashut. Me'id edut sheker, the passage of Shema is all about the fact that God is one. Since the mitzvah of tefillin is included in this passage, it means that the mitzvah of tefillin testifies that the wearer believes in God. If someone recites the Shema without wearing tefillin, it is as if he demonstrates about himself that he doesn't believe in God. So the Bayit Hadash turns, Ki'ilu me'id edut sheker be'atzmo is not be'atzmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Be'atzmo. If you believed in God and you believe that the tefillin represents the crown of God and the subjugation that you're a servant of God, by not wearing tefillin, you're giving a testimony about yourself. That what? That you're not a loyal servant. Tosafot has a different interpretation, and they interpret the word ba'atzmo again to mean about God, that the person is testifying falsely that God has not commanded him to do the mitzvah. In Kiryat Shema, we mentioned tefillin. If you're not going to put on tefillin during Kiryat Shema, what are you basically saying? I don't believe that there's a mitzvah called tefillin. Because how could you say, where's your tefillin? So therefore, if the guy's not wearing tefillin at the time of Kiryat Shema, he's giving very, very strong testimony that what? That God didn't command him. And what's the proof he didn't command me? Because I'm not wearing it. So you may edut sheker on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem did command you to put on the tefillin. But by you not wearing it, you're giving a false testimony. And therefore, the Gemara says in the name of Yohanan, if a person wants to accept upon himself real Malchut Shamayim, all Malchut Shamayim Shelema, first, when you get up in the morning, he gives you the order. Go to the bathroom. That's number one. Because how can you pray to God with a dirty body? The Pasuk says, Kal atzmotai tomanna adwai michamocha. All my limbs will praise you. But if there's dirt in your body, that part of the body cannot praise. So therefore, yifneh techila. After he makes, he goes to the bathroom, netilat yadayim, like we learned. After netilat yadayim, okay, taled, then tefillin, shema, and then tefillah. That's malchut shamayim shelema. And the Gemara says, kol hanifneh, ונוטל ידיו, ומניח תפילין וקורא קריאת שמע מתפלל, it's as if he built a mizbeach and he brought a korban on it. Like the pasuk says, Irhatz benikayon kapai, va'asobeba, it was Bahalacha Hashem. The Zohar HaKadosh says, Man de la it'atav behai, velo it'atav. If a person does not put on the talit, and he doesn't put on the tefillin, vela it'atav le'itakafa betfiloi bechol yoma, and every single day, damile de lo sharia imem hemunuta. It says if he has no emunah, bet'adem mine dehilu demarin, he has no fear of God. Uslote lab selota kedekayeot. His prayer is not a correct prayer. His prayer will not be considered acceptable. So that's a very, very serious item. And therefore, the Zohar HaKadosh teaches us the importance of wearing tefillin while praying the Amidah, as brought down by the Arizal as well. Some say that that's what we call tefillin, melashon tefillah, because the main time you're supposed to wear the tefillin is when you're praying. Finally, if you look at the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Chaveh, we have it in front of me. Halakat Dalet, Sarich shiyu tefillin alav b'shat kriyat shema utfilah. You have to have the tefillin on you when you're saying the Shema and when you're praying the Amidah. Look at the Mishnah Berurah. That's the minimum. We're not talking about a guy now who's praying the quickie tefillah. Okay, then he puts it on for Shema tefillah. Really, the tefillin should be on from the beginning of the tefillah. Actually, the Rabbeinu Ari, he used to put on his tefillin from the beginning before Akedat Yitzchak. So he would pray the beginning already with his tefillin. That's really the right way. If you have the time to do that, the tefillin should be on before you even start the beginning of the tefillah. He quotes a Gemara over here, Kol HaKoreh Kriyat Shema b'li tefillin, ki'ilu me'edut edut sheker, like we saw in the interpretations. Tosafot said, what's edut sheker? Lefi she'omer ukshartam ne'ot ve'eno kosher. He says, put on the tefillin, and he's not being kosher. Ve'av she'b'di'abad yatsa. Question, a person said Kriyat Shema without tefillin. It counts? Yeah, it counts. B'di'abad. Mikol makom yesh lo avera mitzad acher. Which means you get one mitzvah Kriyat Shema and you get an avera for not wearing the tefillin. Shemar'eh al atzmo she'enu rotze lekayem letzon Hashem yitbarach. He doesn't want to keep the will of Hashem. Vezeu edut sheker shemeid al atzmo. So that's edut sheker again. Like we learned, and he's saying that he doesn't want to fulfill the will of God. Ve'od perush the katav v'sifr haredim. Now sifr haredim, there was a rabbi called the Elazar Askari. The Elazar Askari, he lived in Sfat about 500 years ago. And we know him, he wrote Sefer Haredim. He also wrote a famous piyut called Yedid Nefesh, Abba Rahaman. He was a Mekubal as well. And he says a big hadush. He says, if you don't wear tefillin during Kriyat Shema, you're showing what? You may eat do check it. Hashem says to put on tefillin, and you're not putting on tefillin. But hold it. What else are you saying in Kriyat Shema? So he says, if you're not wearing Ahavat Hashem during the Kriyat Shema, you also me'idid do check it ba'atzmo. So that's much harder. To put the tefillin on, you put the tefillin on and you're wearing it. But now you have to instill in your heart Ahavat Hashem. If you're just reading those words, and you're not thinking what you're saying, so then you're a liar. You're testifying that what? Ahavat Hashem. Ahavat Hashem shelcha. So therefore he says, just like we're careful to have tefillin on during the time of Kriyat Shema, we have to be careful to have Ahavat Hashem at the time of Kriyat Shema. This is what the Mishnah Berurah says. Temizen nilmad. כשאומר ואהבת את השם יראה להכניס אהבת השם יתברך בליבו. He has to enter into his heart אהבת השם. שלא יהיה כדובר שקר. He shouldn't be saying a lie. ודע. Okay, fine. So that's the first. Now, if you look at the notes on the bottom over here, he quotes the different ways how a person should bring ahavat Hashem. He quotes Chovot HaLevavot, that each person should contemplate the greatness of the Creator and the fact that he gives life and energy to everything in the universe. At the same time, he should contemplate his own frailty and weakness. He will then realize how kind the Creator has been to him. From the moment of conception until now, despite his averot, despite all the wrongs that he did, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was so kind to us. And therefore, that should bring to us Ahavat Hashem. Now, it is difficult for a person to contemplate these ideas during Kiryat Shema. It's one word, ve'ahavta. That's to stop for 10 minutes and start thinking about all these things. So therefore, the Baalei Musar say the mitzvah of Ahavat Hashem is a daily mitzvah, and you should take a few minutes a day to contemplate this, preferably in the morning before breakfast. Before a person sits down, he has to say to himself, I'm alive. Hashem gives me beracha. I have, all the blessings, and therefore it'll bring in his heart Ahavat Hashem. Some have this kavanah, which I think is an even better idea, during Birchot HaShachar. Every time you say another Birchot HaShachar, you're praising Hashem for the gifts that He gave you. Matir Asurim, you could move. So Kef Kufufim, you can stand erect. Bish Arumim, you have clothes. Mokeh Avrim, you open your eyes. So these are moments also to feel the appreciation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you so much. And He's so great that we're so frail and small, and still He gives us the Berakah. In any event, that is the proper. Now, it does not mean that in Shema you shouldn't think of anything. You shouldn't think about Hashem at least for a moment, that Bekiim the mitzvah of Ahavat Hashem. Now, it's at 3 levels. Bechol levavecha. Bechol levavecha means b'shnei yitzarecha, which means with all my heart, with my Yetzer HaTov and my Yetzer HaRa. Now, I know how you serve Hashem with the Yetzer HaTov. You use it to do mitzvot. How do you serve Hashem with the Yetzer HaRa? By beating the Yetzer HaRa. By beating the Yetzer HaRa and overcoming it, that's how you serve Hashem with the Yetzer HaRa. Ubchol nafshecha, even if He's willing to take your life. Now, that's a big, big, big item. The person has to have the level that even if Hashem would take his life, b'msidut nefesh, he's willing to serve, give up his life for Hashem. But there's easier. Ubchol nafshecha can mean that even if it's something, nafshecha doesn't mean your life only. It means ubchol ritzonecha. How do we know that the word nefesh means your desire? When Abraham Abinu was buying the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, what does he tell Ephron? Im yeshet nafshechem, dekvoret meti. מה זה אם ישת נפשכם? בדיוק. אם זה הרצון שלכם, למכור את המערת המכפלה. So nafshecha could mean you have to serve God with all your desires. Which if you have desire to do something, but it's forbidden. So b'chol nafshecha, you suppress your desire and you return it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's already a form of misnut nefesh. And then, of course, b'chol me'odecha, b'chol mamonecha. You have to be willing to serve God with all of your physical assets. Even if the mitzvah costs a lot of money, or even if they tell you, commit an avera or give us your money. You have to be willing to give the money away and not to transgress. So these are simple kavanot that a person has to have. So it's not enough to be wearing the tefillin, which solves the problem of edut sheker ba'atzmo. But when you say ve'ahavta Hashem Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol modecha, actually you have to contemplate these ideas of Ahavat Hashem. Now, although, like I said, this is going to be done in a quick way, later on, before breakfast, a person, the Hasidim, they make it bodedut. They go into the forest and they just walk around, they contemplate, they think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a great value of the bodedut. All the earlier rabbis, before Rabbi Nachman from Breslov, all the rabbis, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato and Mesilat Yesharim talked about the bodedut. He said every single day, a person should take some time for himself alone and contemplate, first of all, his introspection, and then secondly, to contemplate the wonders of Hashem and the beauty of the world and how Hashem, how much love he has for Hashem, because Hashem has love for him as well. So that is the offering of today. So again, we're learning talet and tefillin before you leave the house. Talet and tefillin when you're saying Kiryat Shema and Amidah, that's Malchut Shamayim Gemura. And our custom is not to say the Beracha or Ter Yisrael B'Tifara on the tefillin. That was the minhag of the Rosh. Our minhag is to say the Birchot HaShachar in the morning and then put on the tefillin just with the Beracha of the Haniyach Tefillin. Stop over here.